Amplifying helicopter activity in my office. Loud helicopter clapping, okay, at that distance. They're also stalking in multiple helicopters. And this is that which is not the sun. This is directly over my head. And this is terrorism that Heather Till is engaging in. This is Dupree stalking in the path, crossing path. And this is what crossing path, you already know what they're doing on Alvarado Street. And this is what Jose and Sons were engaging in. They were amplifying helicopter activity. And then those demons were on both sides of me with leaf blowers while the entity were acting in concert, okay? Heather Till and Don Noggle are going to federal prison. Be clear, even flying at that location is not going to create loud helicopter clapping, amplified. These are demons that are pacing around while they are also aware of the fact that they're being documented on video. This is openly engaging in terrorism. And Heather Till and Don Noggle are going to federal prison. Everybody that lives at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison. This is the entity that is obstruction of justice, which the state shall under no circumstances utilize the people of the state to silence you while they're engaged in state terrorism, and the people of the state go to federal prison for it. This is evidence of what is demon possession. You can see the light source through the windshield. Crossing path, federal stalking, pacing, walking in opposite directions, driving in opposite directions, P.O.C. While the entity communicates a threat, flying in a... They're all going to be deported out of this country. Jose and Sons, you're going to drain the pockets. They're not even going to survive civil prosecution. And this is a communication of a threat because they're hostile because you document them. This is the psychopathic mind state of the entity that's group stock. This is P.O.C. Huh? This is P.O.C. They're pacing. And that's also pacing by the helicopter activity while the light source is over you. Another vehicle pacing. One demon after another crossing path. And let me be clear, this is the same entity that is indeed Heather Till and Don Noggle speaker companies. That's the people of the state group stalking together. Flying over, amplifying helicopter, flying in a circle in a helicopter, demons pacing as one. This is, by the way, the hostility of the demons who you are documenting. Flying in a circle is an act of hostility by a demon-possessed person. And openly stalking in the specific environment where there's never any sun, by the way, as I did on June 23rd, 2022. After being released from kidnapping and showing the criminal act of the entity that's stalking in a helicopter at 9:09 when I'm inside a building 1812 this morning. The light source is still on the same. Let me be clear. Inside apartment 1812 this morning at 9:09, I am facing the same hillside. I am facing the hillside right now at what is 11:36 in the morning. Never anywhere near Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court or the parking lot where the entity is flying over my head in a helicopter, which is speaking to the specific environment. And the entity is also aware of the fact that you're documenting it. These are the people of the state that the people of the state, speaker companies representing the people of the state coming onto the grounds group stalking, living on the grounds group stalking. That's what the Duprees represent. That's what the Abundance represent. They're group stalking right now. And the entity is referencing itself when it's speaking to, oh, we have credible information regarding your calling, engaging in what is the use of epithets and harassing speech, which is speaking to the exact condition, the demon possessed that are group stalking you. And let me be clear, the demon possessed go to federal prison seeking that they will limit your ability to have a job and not be subject to their criminal conduct, thinking that you're going to silence and obstruct justice while you're engaging in that criminal conduct with that entity that's providing evidence against you, which is why you don't want to engage in that criminal conduct with it, because they're going to be disbanded and they're going to federal prison. Let me be clear, the federal government about who was flying this helicopter at this location at this time, and nor is Dominic Choi, and the LAPD is going to be disbanded as the domestic enemy that it is, acting in concert with the Duprees, Jose and Sons Landscaping, Ryan Abundance, group stalking, crossing in the path in real time. That is acting in concert with the entity, while that which is not the sun is remaining over me, and it's also not seen outside of the living room window. It's also not the sun that's still going to be present over my head at what is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And what is this, by the way? This is nothing other than a demonic outburst by the entity that's reviewing, aware of everything that I continuously document, very damning evidence. And so they just had another outburst right now. That's what it is, because there is nothing that is going to help them in federal court when I have this wealth of evidence that already pre-existed my relocation to Los Angeles, by the way. Heather Till's going to federal prison for years behind it. And that's not a hyperbolic statement. She's going to federal prison for this criminal system that she is knowingly engaging in and facilitating, and while seeking to try to obstruct justice, exposing a necessary legally relevant aspect, the fact that she's a demon-possessed group stalker seeking to obstruct justice. That's directly legally relevant and direct and inevitably tied. The entity is engaging in amplifying helicopter activity inside of my office while you're at a great distance, which is stalking in the path. That's the impossibility that you would ever hear. And that's exactly what Jose and Sons were doing while they were on sides of my person with leaf blowers, which does not create helicopter activity inside of my office. And it's also occurring in the specific environment. Those are demons that act with malice. P.O.C. Everybody's going to federal prison. And by the way, this is what the entity was doing at the same property for 47 minutes, flying in a circle over the hillside. Everybody that's living on the hillside, this population is going to be prosecuted. All right, P.O.C. It is, again, 11:39 a.m. where the entity is providing that level of evidence against third-party group stalker speaker companies. This is not a legitimate company. The workplace is the crime scene. The people of the state are the criminal co-conspirator engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring as one. And this illegitimate company creating what are documents that are going to be used in federal court against them. The whole corporate office, including Heather Till and Don Noggle, are indeed going to federal prison. All right, this is federal stalking conduct, first of all, on a communication device that the LAPD is keeping me under surveillance using. It's a criminal act while they compose this email and send it to me. It's a further act of obstruction of justice while they create literally invalid documentation, which is used as the admission against them in federal court. They represent the people of the state. Speaker companies, Don Noggle, Heather Till, are doing nothing other than what is the role that the people of the state pose, where the government, just like you see flying in circles in relevant position in the specific environment, are engaging in that criminal conduct. Heather Till, who is engaging, and Don Noggle are specifically going to federal prison as they act on behalf of the entity through a third-party company. And I want to be clear, our Todd speaker is being simultaneously documented. This is another company whose pockets are going to be drained in civil court for what I am subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring in the workplace. And the third party, that is our Todd speaker, whose employees, whose real property and whose property management company are means of criminal facilitation of federal group stalking and monitoring, which he is not ignorant nor reasonably can contend that he is ignorantly providing such criminal assistance to the state of California. He is also documented engaged in group stalking in relevant position while I'm subject to the P.O.C. in Palo Alto. And by the way, he is literally present and at the corporate office with the rest of the group stalkers, and that is the grounds of federal prison. It's 11:41 a.m. That's the light source that's not outside of my living room window. Let me point something out, and then I'm going to go ahead and close this out because this is conclusive evidence. This is called justice, what you're witnessing. The sun is that's outside of my living room window is not going to be directly over my head at this location. In other words, I cannot see what is over my living room window, outside of my living room window, as I am standing at my leasing office. If that was the sun, in other words, there's no way that I would be able to see it through my living room window. But that's where the entity maintains a light source, including at 1:32 p.m. when I step outside of my front door, and that which is a light source, not the sun, is remaining in its zenith over my head, just like you saw, while I'm at a distinct different location. And this is where, by the way, the entity maintains a light source as I document as late as 5 p.m. Where's the light source? And Amazon Prime is group stalking in the path, delivering a package to a third-party group stalker on the property under a light source, which is not the sun, that's still over me as I document after 5, and the light source is still hovering over me as I walk in the parking lot. That's what you saw in the evening last week as I walk outside of my office, where the entity is engaging what is flying in a circle. That's a psychopath. It's also an act of hostility by a demon. That's a mentally unwell person that is demon possessed, is group stalking, and the demons are hostile because you are documenting them, because you are exposing them and you're successful in it. That's why. Okay, this is a public safety concern. As you see, Jose and Sons then walk to their vehicle. While the vehicle is driving forward, the third party holding the black trash dumpster, he's walking toward, they're engaging in pacing as they're coming in opposite directions. They're demons that are pacing. And then you've got the demon in the helicopter flying in a circle, pacing. And then you have the added traffic, the third party in the Toyota SUV crossing path, pacing. The demon that's driving down Alvarado Street, pacing. Abundus, a demon that's driving onto the property and then parking, they're engaging in ongoing pacing together. And it's an act of hostility by a whole demon. They're all together demon possessed, and these demons are acting in concert together. They're engaged in criminal conduct in the natural. It's federal group stalking and monitoring, and it's also occurring in the workplace under evidence of what is under no circumstances anywhere over the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. On this day in 2022, I went from, not this day, I'm kidnapped on this day, on June 23rd, which I used as an example at 9:09 a.m. while I'm in LA, which is, again, speaking to the phenomenon stalking in helicopters while the light source is remaining over me, that's textbook P.O.C. While I am documenting this on June 23rd at the 11 o'clock hour, I got on Omnitrans third-party group stalker, and it's a matter of evidence that the light source remains over my head as I am going down Foothill Boulevard and going to the Paul Bayan Rancho Cucamonga Library, where I'm documenting the light source. That's not going to be over my head outside of my leasing office in Los Angeles, California, where I am at no time leaving to go to Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court. So while the entity is providing ongoing evidence to the demise of Don Noggle, Heather Till, everybody that lives here that's going to federal prison, actors such as Jose and Sons who are systematically arriving every Monday to engage in the criminal facilitation, federal group stalking monitoring, that is terrorism, while many of them are not even natural born citizens, in other words, they're not just going to federal prison, then they're going to be deported. They are here providing an intolerable level of facilitation. That is every week they're coming and engaging in that criminal course of conduct that I just captured on video in the specific environment. They're terrorists. All right, and they're sex offenders. They routinely, as I already documented, wait until I go to my apartment during the lunch hour, and then they pace around while the light source is over me. Engineer lights on the side of my apartment. The demons are stalking in helicopters, and they use leaf blowers pacing all around on the property. That's what I've been documenting them doing for a prolonged period. They're sex offenders engaging in the terrorism while I'm inside of my private space. So they're doing so now. What you saw them doing, this is what they're doing for every single Monday. You go to federal prison for that. Living at the crime scene, you go into federal prison for that. The workplace being the crime scene, your intolerable level of facilitation, and then also an independent ground of obstruction of justice, the entity threatening your ability to maintain work, which is targeting an American citizen such that they can't even support themselves while you're engaging you're going to federal prison for that, okay? This is just absurdity with regard to the lawlessness that I'm exposing. And the entity is doing so at 11:45 in the morning where there's no sun. There is no sun in Rancho Cucamonga, which is what I documented on June 23rd, 2022 at the Paul Bine Library, where that light source remained visible through the window of that library in Rancho Cucamonga. And then you have what the entity is doing here. It's rising in alignment to my apartment at 6:55 in the morning. Oh, and it's setting in alignment to me through this same apartment building, through my bedroom window. And this is after 7 o'clock in the evening. But during the office day, okay, while it's in alignment to me here, remaining here, rising and setting here, when I'm at my office, it's in a distinct location, not capable of being seen anywhere over building 1806, just following as I go to building 1806, following as I go back to my leasing office, the management office, and the entity keeps the light source in alignment to me inside of my office. This is how I get it over building 1802 at the 5 o'clock hour. 4, 3, 2, 1, 12, but this is where the entity is maintaining a light source, okay? And in doing so, and then as I go to my office in the evening, it's still at the same property, which is how I'm capturing it through the windshield of the third-party group stalkers, the demons that live on the property. That body of evidence, this video is speaking to what a whole lot of people are going to federal prison, and everybody that lives on the hillside on both sides of Glendale, you're talking about a whole population that's going to be prosecuted for engaging in state surveillance with the state, who are showing themselves to be very psychotic, demon-possessed group stalkers, flying all about in helicopters in the specific environment, flying in a circle, which is demonic pacing. This is this is a person that is not well, and they have the spirit of Satan on them, which is terrorism while you're exhibiting that to the target individual who you are group stalking. It's literally criminal conduct directly pointing to your mind state, which is a part of the prosecution for federal group stalking and monitoring. It is currently 11:46 a.m. This is P.O.C.